The day the alien queen kneeled before a human child, the sky above the capital world burned with silent auroras. No alarms rang because no one had prepared for reverence to arrive where fear once ruled. The child stood barefoot on the obsidian floor, too small to understand crown fleets or ancient laws. He only knew the room was cold and that the tall beings around him would not meet his eyes. The alien queen, whose name shattered translators, lowered her many-jointed limbs until her crown touched the stone. Every noble, every warrior, every priest froze as centuries of dominance collapsed in a single motion. The galaxy had never seen her bend, not to gods, not to empires, not to extinction itself. Yet now she bowed to a child who carried no weapon and wore clothes patched by human hands. The silence stretched long enough for history to rewrite itself without asking permission. The child had been found on a drifting rescue ark lost after the border wars. Humans called him Eli, though the name meant nothing to the stars. He had survived radiation, hunger, and cold by holding on to a story his mother told him. That kindness was louder than fear even in the dark. When the ark was salvaged by alien patrols, they expected bones, not a breathing child. They brought him as a curiosity, a relic of a defeated species to the throne world. None expected prophecy to recognize him before politics did. The queen had known the moment she saw him. Her species remembered debts not in years but in genetic memory. Long ago, before humans learned fire, small soft rays had pulled her ancestors from a dying sun. They asked for nothing, not tribute, not worship, not land. That act had been encoded into the royal bloodline, waiting for a sign to awaken it. The child carried the same frequency, the same quiet defiance of despair. When he looked at her, he did not see a monster or a ruler. He saw someone who looked lonely. The queen stepped down from the throne, ignoring the gasps of her court. Her guards reached for weapons, but stopped as a command rippled through them like gravity. She approached slowly so as not to frighten him. Eli looked up and tilted his head the way children do when trying to understand the world. She kneeled because standing felt wrong in the presence of a promise fulfilled. Her voice echoed through translators and into every broadcast node across the empire. I kneel for the one who reminds the stars how mercy begins. Across the galaxy, screen flickered. War fleets paused mid-jump. Markets fell silent. Religions fractured in real time. Because the queen did not kneel for peace or surrender. She kneeled for acknowledgement of a truth older than conquest. The child reached out and touched the edge of her crown. It was warm, not sharp, not cruel. He smiled because she smiled first. In that moment, the empire felt something it had not felt in 10,000 cycles. Hope without calculation. The council demanded explanations. The generals demanded execution. The priest demanded interpretation. The queen answered none of them. Instead, she ordered the child fed, clothed, taught, and protected. She declared him guest of the throne and kin by ancient law. That law had not been invoked since stars were young. Humans watching from refugee stations wept. They had been scattered, hunted, erased from maps. Yet here was one of their children treated as sacred. Not because he was strong, but because he was gentle. The story spread faster than fleets could chase it. Worlds that had crushed human colonies began to send envoys. They spoke of reconciliation, of misunderstanding, of shared futures. The queen watched them carefully. She had not kneeled to start a negotiation. She had kneeled to end an era. Eli grew within the palace. He learned alien languages and human songs. He asked questions that made scholars uncomfortable. Why do you fight when you have so much? Why do you rule if you are afraid? Why did no one help my mother? The queen listened. Each answer changed her. Each silence accused her. Years passed and the child became a symbol. Not a weapon, not a king. A reminder that power bows to innocence when it remembers itself. The galaxy adjusted law's borders and myths around that moment. Historians would later say that was when the age of domination ended. When Eli finally asked why she had kneeled, the queen answered with eyes lowered. Because long ago your people saved us without knowing who we would become. And today you saved us again by reminding us who we were supposed to be. The galaxy took notice. And this time it chose to follow. The child did not understand destiny, but he understood tone. When the queen spoke softly, the room felt safer than any shelter he remembered. Servants moved quietly around him as if noise itself might disturb the balance of the universe. No one dared rush him because rushing a child favored by history felt dangerous. The palace that once echoed with commands now learned patience. Eli slept in a chamber that overlooked 3 suns. At night he watched them drift and imagined there were campfires where lost travelers rested. The queen would sometimes stand at the doorway unseen, listening to his breathing. Her species did not dream as humans did, yet near him she began to experience something similar. Memories rearranged themselves not as weapons but as lessons. Across the empire, unrest spread not from rebellion but from uncertainty. If the queen could kneel, then what else could change? Warriors questioned doctrines taught since birth. Engineers delayed weapons project to watch old human recordings. Teachers added new chapters to history without waiting for approval. The council tried again to regain control. They summoned the queen to justify her actions before the law spheres. She arrived not alone but with a child walking beside her holding her smallest finger. The sight disrupted every prepared argument. No law accounted for a ruler who chose care over fear. They accused the child of manipulation, of psychic influence, of hidden technology. Eli listened patiently, then asked if he could speak. Permission was granted out of disbelief. He said he was just tired of running and wanted people to stop hurting each other. The chambers recorded a measurable drop in aggression pheromones. The queen declared a new mandate that day. No world under her banner would hunt humans. No fleet would fire without unanimous moral review. No child of any species would be used as leverage again. Many protested, few resisted. Human survivors began to emerge from hiding. Ships marked with white signals crossed borders unharmed. Old enemies offered aid not out of guilt but because the universe felt watched, as if a child somewhere might be disappointed. Eli asked to see the stars where humans once lived. The queen ordered exploration teams to recover lost worlds. They found ruins and seeds and forgotten signals still calling for help. Terraforming began not for profit but for return. As Eli grew older, he learned grief. Names of places where his kind had fallen weighed heavily on him. The queen did not hide these truths. She stood with him at memorials both human and alien, kneeling again not as ruler but as witness. Other empires sent spies. Some planned assassination, believing the symbol was too powerful. Every attempt failed not by force but by exposure. The galaxy had grown protective. Killing a child now meant answering to everyone. Eli never sought a throne. When asked what he wanted to become, he said someone useful. He trained in medicine, diplomacy, and exploration. The queen ensured he could choose any path, including leaving. He stayed because he believed staying mattered. On the anniversary of the kneeling, the galaxy paused. Broadcasts replayed the moment endlessly, not as spectacle but as reminder. A ruler bowing to a child. Power acknowledging vulnerability. When the queen finally neared the end of her long life, she summoned Eli, now grown but still gentle. She asked if she had done enough. He held her hand and said she had started something that could keep going. She passed peacefully, knowing the empire would not fracture. The council offered Eli regency. He declined and proposed a collective stewardship instead. Shared leadership guided by ethical review and cross-species councils. It was messy, slow, and human. It worked. Centuries later, children of many worlds learned the story. Not as myth, but as documented fact. They learned that the galaxy changed not through conquest, but through a single moment of humility. Historians would mark that day as a true beginning of the shared era, when the alien queen kneeled before a human child, and the universe decided to grow up.